Alright, good evening. Welcome back to In the Khud. This is 29 May 2023, 10:14 p.m. So it's the late night Khud technically. And I want to make sure that I end this in 10 minutes so that by 10:30 I can wrap things up and go to sleep. We're starting at 2:28 and let's see. We have to stay under 13, which should be doable. Now, one thing is, for starters, I did not record a session on Saturday. Sunday I usually don't record. On Saturday I did not record anything. I will tell you why. So what happened on Saturday is, anyway, weekend happens to be like after like a very rigorous work week, you tend to be like, let's just rest for a while. So what happened on Saturday was I had to figure out Dad's work uploads for show 2, show 3 and show 1, making plus uploading of 5 episodes, and the entirety of the day went in there. So I did not do any Blender work. And on yesterday I made a ton of progress inside the 3D building formation Blender project, and I'm going to document exactly that today. So there are 4 points that I want to cover here. 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 5. The first point being replacing top instance in a stack of instances with another collection. If I just fire up my Blender project, and for safety I'm going to stay smaller so I'm not covering things up. And by the way, this is how the current project is looking with all the lights and everything, and quite a few interesting things I've done here. And you see this entire thing, even if I was in Viewport, this is working extremely well, like the navigation, everything. That's because of this little toggle here called Proxy. So like if I uncheck this, Blender only crashed. So don't uncheck. We're stuck with Proxy, that's what I'm saying. Nah, that's not the case. Yeah, earlier, like you see, Proxy is disabled. For some reason, even this is working fine now. So earlier there was a huge lag when I was trying to do it without the Proxy, because these instances have your everything is getting instanced like 33 times, and all these trees have a bunch of vertices, even though I've decimated the living life out of these trees just to make sure that the performance doesn't take a hit, because they're anyway so far away. It doesn't matter, as long as it looks like a lump of something green, it works. But anyway, yeah, now even without the Proxy, so what Proxy does is it replaces all these actual trees with just simple cubes, and these with like a mesh plane or something, and those behind with cubes as well. So I've covered the first point here, the Proxy point. Anyway, the thing that I wanted to show is in this Geo Node tree. Now it is not because of flat shading. Now I'm feeling the lag in the viewport. That's weird. Sometimes you feel the lag, see the lag, sometimes you don't. Enabling Proxy. Every time you disable Proxy, like, guy. You see, now without Proxy it is lagging a lot, just by changing the workspace. Interesting. So I'm going to keep it at Proxy because I want to be able to move around nicely. Now over here, actually, yeah, Proxy should work just fine. The most important thing that I want to show here is in my node tree, I had this thing where a mesh line was, I can make this smaller, a single mesh line. This entire thing here, building floors, was coming through there's too many things right now here, but a mesh line which was taking account of the building floors. Right, let me see if I can over here, if I can just solo this for the node tree. Yes, there are some assets on, it seems. No, yeah. So with just this part of the node tree, you see that there is no need for the terrace floor. Like I can literally go and delete this entire terrace floor part, because the building floors is the terrace is part of the building floors. That's what is happening. So what I've done here is basically I have done a simple separate geometry. So your building floors are 33. So the 33rd one I have to select. How do you select the topmost? Done this a few times before, but from the number of buildings there are, let's say there are 33 buildings, you subtract 1 from that gives you 32, and that 32, wherever the index index is equal to, index of what, the instance is equal to that going into the selection is 32. That is your, this from over here, this selection, this output instance is 1, is your topmost instance, and this is what you have to replace with another collection. In my case, instead of this floor being duplicated, I want it to be a terrace. So the most important node here is the instance 2 points nodes. So if I was to just view this node, what it does is in place of the topmost instance, it just places a point like this, which has a radius, and you can increase the radius, but it is just 1 point, right? And the radius doesn't really matter, whatever it is. Now, how do you know that it's just the topmost instance? That is important. So if I was to come in here and take my building floors down, you will see that this will go down with it. So this is 23rd, the 23rd instance, which is, and 34, I have to keep it one more, because what is happening is it leaves a gap underneath, right? That's why I've done a set position to this and subtracted -1. So what happens is, in your building stacks, let's say there are 33 floors. If you're taking the 33rd floor and replacing it with the terrace, you have to firstly take the terrace down, because the terrace itself is modeled on top. That's how I've modeled it. It's not all in the same place, and we're instancing it here. So that Z -1 is, forget about it. What is important is when you do that, there is one floor, the space of one floor is gone for the terrace. So you have to put here building floors 34 if you want 33 number of floors. I tried putting it like here where, you know, I would just add one, but then you'll have to again do calculations to make sure that the terrace again stays at the top. Just keep it simple. Put 34 if you want 33 floors. Okay, that's the most important node here. Was the instance of point nodes. We set positioning at -1, because as I said, the terrace was modeled on top of the, or not on the world origin, but like one floor above the world origin, because on the world origin there's the floor itself. Then instance to points, set position, that's again instance to points, simply add the collection. That is all. I was trying to do a lot of gymnastics, mental gymnastics, to figure out what, but that's all that is needed. So that works itself out. I think I can just go back to my main node now. Yeah, so that's all that. This took a significant amount of time to figure. Then after that, here it's just the camera movement and stuff that I figured. So if my render collection is on, you will see that there is a camera, which is, by the way, the animation is done. I will show you in a minute how it is looking. I have to do a few changes to it though. Yeah, you see the camera here. So there is this path that I made, and I have done, and the original path in the original video, the first video where it was going around, I've kept that. I've made another path, and I've kept the influence of the circular path to 0 and take the influence of this to 1. So if the camera is going here, then the camera goes up, and you see something went up here. This is the focus object, and the focus object is basically your pivot of the camera. Pivot to track 2. There's a track 2 constraint on the camera, because when the camera goes up, you want to be able to pivot the camera at the same time. So what happens is, when if I was to be here, right, and if I did not have a track 2 constraint, the camera would just be looking here in the space, in the sky, which is not what we want. And this I've achieved through drivers. I've used a lot of drivers in this project, and I really love the idea of just using drivers to make things. And so here, the point that I want to document is here. See, if you see here these lines, this is vector. If you see, the yellow is vector and this red is Bezier. So I've made a combination of vector and Bezier splines to achieve what it is that I wanted to achieve. You see, the bottom ones are vector again. Something was vector here. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to document here. Drivers operating on an independent empty object. So this object here, you see, this is called animation, and inside your custom properties, this has 2 custom properties, lights on and solar panel. So I think for this I will have to switch my proxy off. Yes, I'm gonna go to my rendered view. This is the thing with geometry nodes, and when you have a bunch of instances and stuff like these, with everything, no proxy, no nothing, if you're moving around in the viewport, in the rendered view, it is just fine, because cycles jumps in, GPU compute jumps in, it is all perfectly fine. But the moment I go into solid view, look at this lag. So it seems a bit counterintuitive because solid view is supposed to be faster, right? But with geometry nodes and instances in rendered view, you can work just fine, like with no need for no proxy at all. But proxy is just a great sort of workflow. That's why I wanted to anyway do it. Now I was talking about the animation object. This has two properties, custom properties, and what these custom properties are basically doing is they're going from 0 to 1. So the first custom property is solar panels flicker. When this goes from 0 to 1, your solar panels at the top, these ones, these are the heroes of the video, they turn on, right? So if I go back at 0, they are at 0, and at 1 they have been lit up. Earlier I was doing a flicker by repeating these keyframes, but then I said let it be. And then here the other driver is lights on. So when this goes from 0 to 1, the entire building is lit. And that's the kind of transition I'm trying to go for, that during the day the sun is shining and all that stuff, and the solar panels are recording that electricity, storing the electricity, and when the night comes, the entire building is lit because of the solar energy. So that's like a little bit of a concept that I made myself. It wasn't given to me or anything. And then we come down here. How I've made that driver situation, it will be a very difficult task for me to go and show. I will make like a proper video explaining how the driver situation, of course that's what Ukramedia in his video explains, so you should just watch that Blender expressions video by Ukramedia. That will give you what is needed. But I did understand a few nuances as far as drivers and that linear expression is concerned, like how do you cap the top and the bottom by using a limits modifier, and these things he doesn't say in the video, so I had to like trial and error and figure out for myself, because as far as I've seen for drivers, and especially for expression related drivers, there isn't a lot of good information out there on the internet. So that's really valuable. I'll make a proper video about it. Every time I say I'll make a proper video about something, I end up not making it, but let's see, let's hope. Okay, so that was that. Drivers operating world shader day and night. This is again Kaizen tutorial. I had watched his tutorial. Now here is a very simple, doesn't look simple, but all that is happening is this day and night I've taken exactly from his tutorial. Again, I've added drivers here, just frame driver, and what I've done is also to make sure that mic is recording, and last time it wasn't recording. I don't even know where to begin explaining this. This light is camera path is just making sure that it's affecting the background and not this is affecting the model, and this thing here is only affecting the background, like the light doesn't leak over onto the subject and stuff. And then we are putting through mixed shaders, and this thing here, if I can annotate, see this thing here, emission going through a noise texture color ramped, this is giving you clouds. If I was to show you, for that I'll have to switch off transparent and my rendered view. You'll see that this shader, the day shader, has these clouds, and how are these clouds coming through this particular section. And the same thing if you were to do over here with the night shader, you will get stars. But the only thing is you will keep the color ramp values way too close to each other, as compared to here they are far apart. So you get cloud situation. If you keep it way close to each other, you get a bunch of stars in the sky, right? That's that. So world shaders and proxy mesh for viewport performance. I'll have to go back to my Geo Nodes, and you just saw actually in the building floors itself, I made like a very simple switch. Okay, and the group input has a proxy check button here. If I come in and check this, instead of the actual thing with all the windows and furniture and everything, you just have the base of it. That's what this is. Floors proxy is just a base that I've duplicated because it was easier. And along with that, if I was to switch this off, you see you have, if I just stay in the day for a while, you have all these trees and all these bushes and climbers that are being instanced. But if you check on proxy, you get these boxes and stuff, which are like, if I'm in my solid view as well, I can very easily navigate. Rendered, as I said anyway, even without proxy, you'll be able to navigate pretty easily. So yeah, again, a ton of things I've learned through this project, as with every other project. I'm really glad that I'm in a position to work on these projects. It's really amazing. As far as the character animation is concerned, I got halted because of the clothing situation, and once I'm done with this tomorrow, hopefully the client doesn't have like very drastic changes where I have to go and just remake a few things in 3D. I should just get back onto that project if everything goes well, and I'm gonna make my clothing myself and then attach that to the mesh, to the armature for the character, and we'll proceed from there. We've already exceeded a lot of time. It's gonna be a bit of a task, but I'm gonna keep this video more or less unedited, so that, because that's what inthekhud is about, like spontaneous. I do want to document one thing, which is a little about my personal life here, and like a little bit of a spiritual growth, that I've been listening a lot to Muji Ji satsangs on YouTube now, to the point that yesterday I went to walk on my Sunday walk. My Sunday runs have become Sunday walks now, because thanks to my knee injury, and I'm glad that has happened, because just walking gives me so much of space to reflect on things. And running was always like, there is another task that you have to do, but the Sunday walk is like a very, very relaxing, rejuvenating thing that I look forward to now. And I don't come back feeling tired, but I come back feeling very fresh and refreshed of sorts. So even during the week, if there are times where I cannot go to the gym for whatever reason, I can just go to the joggers park and just walk, and walking is so beautiful. So while walking, I was listening to Muji Ji satsang, and even today in the gym I was listening to the satsang, which is like, wow, it's like the last place where you would expect somebody to be listening to a satsang on the self, and I am, but on a genuine note. And this is all a matter of grace, where things like these and wisdom of this sort and is just coming to me in a way which I don't know like how to express my gratitude for these. Just a little point that I wanted to put out there, that I'm very, very grateful for all these realizations of the self and all the wisdom that, to be honest, it's very transforming in itself. So yeah, that is it. Thanks so much for being in the inthekhud. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.